one thing just to kind of get started is there's folks in this room who are very, very good chess players. Played internationally. Eric Pangborn's here. He's won the state championship a couple times. He's an international master. He's the guy who should be giving this chess Simul, by the way, not me. And there are folks who know nothing about chess. Okay, my best friend John Blacksmith is here, not a chess player, and everybody in between. We've got all sorts of levels here. So I'm going to have a sort of short talk before we get started. Part of what I'll do is talk about really how chess has influenced my life. In particular, the work that I do currently. Chess has had a huge influence on my life. I'm from a family of 7, grew up on Queen Anne Hill. So it's 6 boys, 1 long-suffering sister in my family of 7, it's a big family. So family is obviously, I think for most people, the biggest influence in your life naturally, right? Just that family dynamic over all those years. Outside my family though, I think that the biggest influence on my life, the way I think about the world, the way I think about politics, how I think about my job, is actually from spending thousands and thousands of hours playing chess, thinking about chess, dreaming about chess. It just has had a huge influence on my life, even though the last time I played a tournament chess game was back in 2002, and I literally have not played a serious game of chess since. So I say that to start because you will see me lose plenty of games today, okay, just to be clear, right? Probably start with this guy right here, who I think is the highest rated player, I think in the whole group, I think Darren is. So Darren's 10 years old, is that right? So a lot of my friends, when I say, hey, there's going to be a mix of adults and kids, like, oh, well, the kids, that's great. You'll have like, I'm like, no, the highest rated person I'm playing against is a 10-year-old kid, right? Just to be clear, chess is one of those things, it's like music, basically, where age is irrelevant, right? In fact, with chess, you have prodigies in areas, in a couple areas, like music and like chess. You have grandmasters now who are literally like 12 years old. I mean, just take my word for it. Kids, it's, when I played, kids played a little bit. Now they play a lot, and they're very, very good. So I'm going to talk a little about chess, and I'm not going to, often before a chess Simul, the chess master talks about a game he or she played in some detail. I'm not going to do that, okay? I am going to maybe just have 2 positions from 2 games I played, just to, you don't need to know anything about chess for the point I'm going to try and make in those. But I should mention the idea for this chess Simul came because, my political team is here, and Catherine and Amelia and Allie are all here to help put this together, and always looking for different ideas for a fundraiser, right? What to do, and so I thought, why don't I do this idea of playing multiple people in chess? So my team has learned more about chess than I think they ever thought that they ever would. My feeling about it is now about 10 days ago I realized, hey, I'm going to be playing close to 20 people at one time, and I went online to start playing a little bit of speed chess online, and the results were pretty disastrous, and so I realized it's not like the college basketball player who was good back in college and is now in his 50s and thinks, oh yeah, I can still dunk. And you go out there in the court and you look up and that rim is way, way up there. So that's how all of you look to me right now. It's not going to be easy. But this place is actually, coincidentally, Catherine, I think, found this location from my team. She did not know at the time, but this actually, it might have well been in this room, but certainly this community center where I won my last state championship was here at the Ravenna Exine Community Center, and John Blacksmith, my buddy, was there. For that last game that I played. I might even talk a little bit about that game. I remember very clearly the last game I played against a guy named Neil Salmon, who I could just never, ever beat. I played him term after term, the guy beat me every time. But I finally got his number in a critical moment, and it was right here in the Ravenna Exine Community Center. So at least I had that going for me, as good memories right back here. I want to thank Dwayne Polish, in particular, Dwayne Polish, who's here, who's a longtime tournament chess player, Josh Sinan, and others from the chess community who really help my team get the chess sets, get all set up. Dwayne's right here in front. And just one thing I just will say before I move on to a few remarks is, when I was a kid, I mentioned I'm one of 7 kids. Look, when my dad didn't know anything about chess, he just knew he had a kid who was totally into it. And for a weekend tournament, starting when I was this age, right, my dad would just drop me off at a chess tournament somewhere in Seattle, and I'd be there all day long. He entered me almost exclusively against adults, and those adults just looked after me. Right? And they would often give me a ride home, right? At the end of the games would finish late on Saturday night. I mean, it seems so hard to believe now that as a parent, you just would drop off a 10-year-old kid with a bunch of people you don't really know, but that whole chess community, I mean, I'm just telling you, I really grew up with that. A huge influence on me, not just in improving my game and taking me seriously, even though I was a kid who wasn't very good, but just kind of looking after me over many, many years. So I've always been very appreciative to the chess community for that. Okay, so I'm going to start on a relatively brief chat. My goal is maybe start our Simul in about 10 minutes. But a couple things, and if I got time for a quick question, feel free to ask one. But, I'm sometimes asked by newspaper reporters and others about the influence of chess on my life. And someday maybe I'll write an article or a book about it, but a couple things are sort of obvious, right? Like, hey, chess teaches you to think ahead. It's a cliche. Happens to be true, but it's a cliche. But kind of looking a little deeper than that, I think a couple things that stand out. There's many things I could list, but a couple things I would say is that one thing that chess teaches you to do, it drills into you, no matter how old you are or how good you get, is your job is to anticipate your opponent's next move. That's your job in many respects. So my job as I'm coming around the boards is to, hey, what's my opponent's next move going to be? And that is a hugely useful skill to have in the law. It's a hugely useful skill to have in politics, where you are trained to anticipate what your opponent's going to do. It's not what you wish your opponent's going to do. It's not what you hope your opponent's going to do. No, what's the best move for my opponent? I need to anticipate that. And if you're playing a good game of chess, you anticipate those moves and the reason behind it consistently. It's a big problem if I'm playing a tournament chess game against Zach, and Zach plays queen c4, and I think, whoa, didn't see that coming. Or I saw queen c4, but I realized I didn't really understand the idea behind queen c4, and now I do. That's a big problem. It's a huge problem. And in fact, it's such a problem, I'm going to sit there and think about queen c4 until I know exactly why he made that move and why I missed it before I think about what I'm doing next, right? So you've got to anticipate those moves. Well, that helps in my job. After Donald Trump was elected president, a move that I did not anticipate, or I did not see coming, right? To be perfectly honest. My team and I started having conversations about, well, what does a Trump administration look like? Are there things that he said he would do during his campaign that if he actually executed as president, we might have a legal challenge about, legal concerns about? And so a lot of our time was spent anticipating what he might actually do as the president. One thing that was at the top of our list was, during his campaign, he called for a complete and total shutdown of Muslims coming into the United States. That was an applause line during his campaign, as you might recall. A lot of people said, well, he'll never really govern that way. That was just the way he ran for president. Remember those days, right? He won't really govern that way. A lot of folks are wrong about that. We decided to take him at his word. If he made a promise during the campaign, well, maybe he's really going to do it. So we anticipated that next move. So when the Muslim travel ban was signed on a Friday night, the team was ready to go. Everybody's in the office Saturday morning. We worked all weekend. On Monday, we filed our lawsuit. By that Friday, we had a nationwide injunction put in place. There's no doubt in my mind, part of that was us thinking about his next move and being objective about it, right? Not saying, well, he's not really going to do that, right? No, let's be objective about this, right? We've underestimated him before politically. We're not going to make that same mistake again. And that objectivity is clearly critically important as well in chess. A chess master will often say, if they lose a game, sometimes you'll hear them say afterwards, I lost my objectivity in that game. I got so caught up in what I was doing, all my good moves, my great ideas, I lost my objectivity about what my opponent was doing as well. I wasn't clear-eyed about what was actually happening on the board. That's a useful thing in the law as well. You've got to be purely objective about, hey, I may be outraged by something the Trump administration is doing. I may really want to legally challenge it, but I've got to be 100% objective about our legal chances if we file a lawsuit. What's the law say about that? My team and I, we have meetings all the time about the Trump administration litigation. We always have one weekly meeting where everybody who's involved in litigation is on a call or in the room. And I often think it'd be interesting if the people of the state of Washington could listen to those conversations. Gary, who spent a lot of time working in our office, no, we can't allow that for obvious reasons, right? But I wish people could listen, because if you really listen to that conversation, what you'd be hearing is a highly objective analysis about the law, often quite boring, right? Obscure legal arguments, federal laws that seem pretty obscure, but the team is being objective. We're not being caught up in, hey, we're upset about this. No one's saying I'm mad about that, right? No one's saying this is outrageous. What everyone's saying is, what does the law say? What are they going to say in response to that? What are our chances at the trial court? What are our chances at the Court of Appeals? What are our chances with the U.S. Supreme Court? Can we persuade a Justice Roberts to our side? It's objective all the time, and chess teaches you that. If you're not objective, you're going to lose in chess. If you're not objective, you're going to lose in politics, and you're going to lose in the law as well. One more thing I'll say, for especially for some of the players who are tournament players, I think about half the players we have play tournament chess, half do not. And chess is, it's a great game for a lot of reasons. One of them is that in chess, when you start out, white has the first move. So there's a slight advantage to having the first move in chess. But it's by no means some decisive advantage or anything close to that. It's an edge you get by going first, but that's about as far as it goes. In other words, if you don't make the mistake, even if you're black, you don't lose the game. And as you know, in chess, weather does not determine the outcome. There is no home field advantage. There's no referee who can make a controversial decision, right, and decide the game one way or the other, or even to complain about it. You win or you lose based on your moves. Period. There really is no other factor. So chess teaches you I think at a very early age, whether consciously or subconsciously, that you need to take ownership of your decisions. You own each and every move, right? If you lose, it's only on you. There's no point in, there's no one to blame. A chess player would laugh at you if you tried to blame your loss on something else other than yourself. And so I remember really clearly when I was serious about chess, and I played a guy that some folks here will know well, an individual from Bulgaria who defected from Bulgaria back when we had Soviet bloc countries. His name has passed away now, Nikolai Minev. He was a Bulgarian national champion several times and internationally famous chess master. And he defected from Bulgaria with his wife, and he ended up settling in Seattle. And this is pre-internet, so a godsend for a guy like me in little old Seattle, trying to make my way playing chess in a serious way, have this world-famous chess master, chess trainer, living right here in Seattle, Washington. So he became my chess coach. Nikolai Minev was a great guy, a great coach, and helped my chess a lot. I'll never forget our first lesson. So I go in for the lesson, and in chess you write down your moves, and you guys can all write down your moves if you want. Some may know how, some may not. You can write down your moves, and then you can go over your games afterwards. Kind of like the game film for the Seattle Seahawks, right? Tell the Truth Tuesday is what they call it, where they go through the game film, what happened, right? Tell the Truth Tuesday. That's what chess score sheets do. You can go over your games. And he asked me to bring in a bunch of my games that he could play over to get a sense of my style, right? He's going to start. I'm like maybe 18 or 19 years old. I'm pretty serious about chess. So I picked out some of my best games, right, that I played. I wanted to impress him. And so I had a stack of them. And so we sat down for our first lesson in his apartment downtown, and I pulled out a score sheet. He said, this game, he said, did you win that game? I said, yeah, I won this game. I beat Jones in 27 moves. I sacrificed my knight. It's a great game. I can't wait to show it to you. And Dr. Minev says, no, in words I'll never forget. He said, Bobby, losses first. And I said, I'm sorry, what's that? He said, losses first. We go over any game you lost recently first before we get to any game you won. Losses first. And I'll never forget that chess lesson. Typically our lessons were 2 to 2.5 hours. This is our very first one. My first impression with the guy, and vice versa, right? That first lesson, we spent the entire lesson looking at one chess game that I played, that I lost. And I'll never forget, I of course had looked at games I'd lost before, but kind of in a half-hearted manner, to be perfectly honest. Okay, look, yeah, that's why I lost the game. And I move on to games I won. But I realized what Dr. Minev did was we'd be playing through the game, and I remember at one point he said, something's wrong. I said, what's that? He said, well, you're worse now. You're worse, and we must have missed something. You must have made a mistake that we didn't see. At a certain level of chess, those mistakes can be pretty subtle, right? So we had to go back and try, here's the point, right? And he, in a way, it frustrated me in a way, right? That he was so obsessed with this one game I lost, right? But I realized, as time went on, lesson after lesson, that he was rooting out mistakes I was making in games over and over that I had not realized, right? He was clear-eyed about my games, and I realized I was improving as a result. Hey, this is going wrong in this opening. You're doing it over and over again. Let's eliminate that. So that approach of losses first, I think, is so important for chess. The last thing I'm going to say before we get started is, when I mentioned that it was here I had won my last state championship, which was 1987, a long time ago. Okay, and in that tournament, maybe that tournament's a good example of what I think. Often I felt that in tournaments that I won, it wasn't because I was necessarily the best chess player in that tournament. And if you're playing the state championship, all the players are pretty darn good, obviously. But I think two things that served me well: preparation and perseverance in those games. And one other thing that I tend to use a lot in my current work is, in chess, I had a hard time for a while. Yes, you've got to carefully think about your moves, obviously, right? But you're on the clock. You got to make moves, right? You have a certain amount of time. You got to make your moves. If you don't make your moves, you lose on time. So part of chess also is you have to, for lack of a better phrase, trust your instincts a little bit. Often chess players will say your first instinct about a move is often the right one. The better you get at it, right? But I have a hard time sort of trusting my instincts sometimes. I want to analyze it, and I get in time trouble at the end and make mistakes when I have little time. I remember having a chess coach who said, Bobby, you should trust your instincts more. Trust them more. You have good instincts, you got to trust them more. So I remember playing Neil Salmon, this guy Neil Salmon, some folks here know him well. It's the last round, so it's the whole thing, right? He wins it or I win it. This is it, just the top two players in the last round. And I was black, and I remember he sacrificed a pawn or a piece or something. I tried to find the game, but couldn't put my hands on it. And my king was, as chess players like to say, going for a walk, okay? And what that means is you want to have your king somewhere nice and safe, like here's a king that's protected behind a wall of pawns. My king was going for a walk. It was strolling out the board out in the open. It's going for a walk. You don't want that. You don't want your king going for a walk. But I got this material, and I thought I could keep it safe out there in the middle of the board, but it's complicated as all hell. I'm nervous, right? It's for the whole championship, and we're both short on time. So we have to start banging out the moves. And the way I remember it was the last move of the time control before, once I make this move, I get a new hour to start thinking again, okay? And I've only got a few seconds to make this move, and my king's in check. As I recall, my king's already pretty far out in the middle of the board, is my recollection. And I've got two moves. I can go back towards my guys, where it's safer, right? Back towards my army, or I can go forward one square, into his, going away from my guys and towards his guys. And I remember thinking, something's telling me to go forward, which is counter to any chess player would tell you. Going into it's the wrong thing, right? But I just felt, God, man, that's the right, I had no time to analyze it. So I remember picking up my king, putting it forward, hitting the clock, and I remember sitting there, looking at the board, after saying, what the hell did I just do? What was I thinking? And I remember my dad was here, my late father, who took me to all my chess tournaments. He came out to see the last game. I remember going to my dad, and he said, well, how's it going? I said, I just lost on the last one. I just made this, I don't know what I was thinking. I remember watching Neil think about his next move. I remember being surprised because he was thinking, like, Neil, man, you got like 5 different ways to beat me. Just get it over with already, right? But he's thinking, so I thought, well, I'm going to walk, and everyone else is watching the game. I sat down, I remember he had like 5 different ways to beat me. I looked at the first one. And that didn't quite work. Oddly, his pieces got in the way of each other when he tries to checkmate me. I looked at the second one, and the third one. And it was this crazy thing where each way he seemed to have to beat me, the pieces just conspired against him, right? The way it was set up, it was weird, but it worked for me. And in the end, that game went my way, and I won the state championship. And I think about that in my job a lot, right? That, yes, of course, as a lawyer, I need to be thoughtful about what I'm doing. We need to talk about the law. But often, you're on the clock and making decisions. The administration has done something. It's going to affect right away. It's going to impact millions, thousands of people. You need to make a decision. You're on the clock. And yes, you wish you had more time, but sometimes you just have to trust your instincts on doing things. And I really find that playing my time as a chess player served me well, I think, in that capacity. And learning how to trust your instincts at the right time, right? Being thoughtful about it, but trusting your instincts, I think, is critically important for a good chess player. Sometimes you just got to go for it. And I think, frankly, as an attorney general as well. So I'm going to stop there. I had a game with Steph here. I'm not going to get to that. And I think we should probably get started on the chess Simul, right? So do we have everybody's here? Looks like we got a full deal. So the way this, here, just real quickly on sort of the ground. Some folks know chess Simuls well. Some don't know them at all. I just jotted down a few quick notes so people know. I think the players know. So as I go around and make a move in all the games, okay, then I'll come back to, let's say Darren first. Then Darren has to make a move. When I come back around, Darren makes a move in front of me, so I can see his move. Once Darren touches a piece, he's got to move it. When he lets go, that's the end of the move. Then I'll make my move. For me, one thing they give the exhibitors, once I make a move, I come over here to look at Dan's game. If I look back and realize, whoa, that was a mistake, I'm allowed to come back and change my move. That's a little give to the exhibitor, okay? Hopefully I'll never do that. Hopefully I'll never do it. But my move is complete over here, Darren. When I touch a piece over here against Dan, then I'm done with that when I'm going around. Once in a while you'll see a grandmaster stop and look back and frown and change their move, okay? Number 2, each player gets 1 pass. So if I come around and Dan's not ready to make a move, he can take a pass. Look, that's loose. If you have to go to the bathroom, just go. If your chair's empty, I'll know you had to step out for some reason. So don't sweat it if you got to take a bathroom break or something. But the idea is you got to have a move ready. When I come to the board, you got to have a move ready. What I might do is about every 20 minutes or so, I might just because we have a lot of folks here kind of watching, I might just kind of give an update on how things are going. Maybe just for a minute, kind of say, hey, here's what's going on, or Dan's got me. I don't know. I'm not sure what that looks like. That's typically not what you do in a chess Simul, but don't be shocked, players, if I just do that as well. I don't know if we have a scoreboard keeping track of the wins, losses. So,
we can't.
That's all right. I'll just kind of verbally keep folks. You can all feel free to move around, right? Obviously, try to stay quiet is helpful, but by all means, move around. If you want to watch, move around. That's perfectly good doing all that. And I think I've covered the ground rules for this thing. Dwayne, did I miss anything important?
I think you got it.
I think I got it. So.
Good luck,
I'm going to
everybody.
lose a bunch of games, everybody, just to be clear, right? But we're going to see how this, I think I've only done this once before. To my best recollection, a reporter asked me about that.
Thanks.
And it was back when I played chess a lot. I was playing professional. I think I was 18. I
Thank
played
you.
like 27 members of the South Chess Club. So as I recall, they were all tournament chess players. And I definitely lost a few, had a couple draws, kind of won the rest. I remember it was hard, as you can imagine. So the advantage, of course, of those who aren't chess players is my mind is split between 20 games, right? So I've got limited time each board. Zach's got the time I'm walking around, he's got time to study the board. Things start to even out. My goal is to start winning games as quickly as I can, right? If possible. The players who aren't as good. So then the time evens out between me and this kid over here, right? So it starts to equal up a little bit.